Guys, Matt here with Blackberry Inspections, and I am recording the sixth and the final video in my video series that I'm calling Behind the Walls Matter. All right, and today we are talking about foundations. Now, I know what you guys thinking. What? Foundations? That's not a wall, right? And I agree with you. But I want you to think about your foundation as if it were a concrete wall, maybe turned on its side. And it's used to support the superstructure that is your house, right? Now, I'll be honest, I don't get a whole lot of phone calls from homeowners to inspect the foundation, right, before they pour concrete, which is kind of baffling to me, all right? Especially because your foundation has a lot of different elements and components that, if either poorly installed or improperly installed, could cost you a lot of money in the long run, all right? Now, there are a lot of different types of foundations, all right? You got your pier and beam, which usually has a crawl space, right? We got your wood type foundations, which you can see with the wood pier and beam too. You got floor joists and your girder beams, all right, that they fasten together to support the house, right? You got your piles, which are driven deep into the ground. You got your spread footings and stem walls, which we'll see those type of foundations more up north with your basement type foundations. If you're ever wondering, and on a quick side note, why up north they use a lot more basement foundations, it's because the building code says we have to construct our foundations or the footing for our foundations 12 inches below the frost line. And generally speaking, up north, they have ice, they have snow on the ground. Their frost line is a lot deeper than ours. In most of the southern regions, you won't have that problem. At least in my area, you don't, right? And so we use what's called slab on ground or slab on grade type foundations, all right? And that's what you're looking at today, all right? Now, we'll cover the slab on grade today because that's what typically I see in my area. And so what is slab on grade, all right? Now, if you think about, like I was saying, that concrete wall on its side, right, or a concrete block, all right? Your slab on grade foundation has three major elements that make up of it to give it structural capacity, right? So it can bear the loads from above, from your house, all right? What are those? Your grade beams, your steel is number two, which can consist of post-tension cables or just rebar we're using in certain areas, and then also the concrete itself, all right? Now, what are grade beams? Now, if you look in this frame in the background, right, at this foundation, you can see we have these ribbed sections, right, where it's going, perpendicular to each other. Those little areas are called grade beams. What are grade beams for? All right, just like beams in your house, any loads that's coming from the house that make it down to the foundation, your grade beams help dissipate those loads into the soil, okay? And based on your engineering drawings, the engineer will call out how deep he wants them, how wide, the thickness or depth or whatever. And so us as inspectors will come out to measure to make sure that those beams are at the proper depths or the proper width. And I will tell you, a lot of times I find most occasions they are not deep enough, all right? And so typically speaking, if I'm finding that all over the foundation, that can have some implications on the actual bearing capacity of your house loads, right? It can be a major issue, all right? And so that's one thing that I would call out on a lot of foundation pre-pour inspections, okay? Also, before you do your grade beams, we have to compact the soil, all right? If the soil here is not well compacted, we need to bring in some fill dirt, all right? Which, if you look here at the house next door, they brought in some field dirt. You see the lighter colored dirt there, all right? And then they will compact that before they dig out the grade beams, okay? After we've done our grade beams, we want to bring in what's called vapor barrier, and that is this black plastic that you're seeing here, okay? The building code says we have to have what's called 6 mil vapor barrier on top of the soil, okay? Because we're trying to control moisture, all right? There's a lot of moisture in the soil. It can wick up. It can cause movement in the foundation. It can cause issues in the house, and especially if you had hardwood floors. If you get a lot of soil coming from the dirt ground, it can create some issues with your flooring, all right? And so we want to try to minimize those issues by putting poly down, all right? Now, I'll tell you again, just like your house wrap, these are probably one of the most egregious things that I find, all right? There are certain requirements, all right, on how to lay this down, the application of it. You got to have, your overlaps got to overlap at least 6 inches or so. If you got any penetrations, like plumbing penetrations coming through it, it needs to be sealed, okay, or taped, all right? And so I do find that quite frequently, all right? After we put our vapor down, now we need to install our cables, and that's what you're seeing here, this red color here. All these cables are running, perpendicular to each other, okay? Now, that's based on your engineer, how many cables he wants, the locations of them, how far spread out they are. And so, again, we're looking at our engineering details to make sure we got enough cables, they're spread out properly, all right? And I will tell you, sometimes, it's not rare, but I do a lot of third-party inspections for another client of mine, and I will tell you that 1 to 2 times a week I find foundations that are missing cable, all right? Now, you don't want that to be your house, right? Also, the engineer can call out for steel. And if you see here, here's some steel that he's called out at the corner. He's trying to beef up this corner. Now your steel cannot be exposed to the air or to the ground, okay? Because remember that moisture. Air has moisture in it, the ground has moisture in it. It could cause corrosion on the steel itself, which now it won't be serving its purpose. Once we've gotten all that inspected and taken care of, now we bring in the concrete, which the concrete is the third element, all right? Now, contrary to popular belief, the concrete itself is probably the weakest component of the three to your foundation, all right? Now, I don't know if you ever taken a hammer and banged it on your sidewalk or the patio. What happens? It shatters, right? Concrete itself is brittle, all right? And so concrete works better in compression, all right? Meaning, if you took some books and you took your two hands and compressed the books, it will be harder to break that bond, right, that you have in between there. But if you start to let go, now it'll be easier for someone to break it, or the books might fall. Same way with concrete. The more concrete we put on top, it works better in compression, okay? And so now, once we put the concrete on, our cables work better in what we call tension. We want to pull our cables for it to have more structural capacity. All right, and so once we put our concrete on, it'll look like this one here next door. And at this point here, you can see cables lined up. This is where now they will come and stress those cables, okay? And so there are a lot of different elements, all right, to your foundation. It's not just a concrete block, all right? And so we want to make sure these things are right so you don't have to deal with issues later on, all right? Believe it or not, a lot of builders do give warranties on your foundation, some up to 10 years. But you don't want to be the homeowner that have to deal with that issue, all right? Now, if you go to sell your house, guess what, right? You have to disclose you have foundation issues, and it could scare away some people. Plus, working on your foundation it can be a big inconvenience, and if you're outside of warranty, it can be a big cost. So, by all means, get your inspectors out there, get a second or third pair of eyes on there. That few hundred or whatever bucks that you're going to spend is going to probably bring you a lot more peace of mind, all right? So I appreciate you guys on this journey with me, all right? Wrapping up the 6th video on my video series. If you have any questions, all right, if you like this, please post it, right? Share it or post it, right? Post your comments below. If you're thinking about getting some phase inspections during construction, you can call me. Even if I'm not in your area, if you have any questions about it, I can kind of give you some guidance on that. I appreciate you guys again. Find all my other websites at Black Bear Inspect. Thanks.